Tade Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatadine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. During the month of January, and because it was a because it was a national holiday, the Martin Luther King national holiday, we conducted a nice little gathering in Naperville at the request of some devotees who, I'll go a little bit further back. Just before that weekend, a couple weeks before, there was, they also came here to Potomac. Nrsinga Kavacha, you attended. So there was a, from the UK, the person in charge of the deity worship program for, I think, for either more than the UK, just the whole of Europe. Anyway, it was a nice event, and devotees learned a lot, felt enthused, and this is very important, one of the 5 important activities, and we need training how to do it, the deity worship properly. So that was the plan, and that was the effect. I don't know what the effect was here. I know the effect in the Midwest. It wasn't just Naperville, it was all around the Midwest. People came, devotees came. And the thought was, well, this is very important, and we learned a lot, and the effort of devotees in general to participate in deity worship picked up. The next idea was service to the devotees, one of the 5 most important activities or potent activities in bhakti, deity worship. Living in Vrindavan, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting Hare Krishna, serving the devotees. So it's so important, and on the other hand, the absence of it is so detrimental that it's training and education, how to be in the proper mood and so forth of serving the devotees of the Lord and associating with devotees of the Lord, and add to it the fact that the ISKCON is growing. I mean, the deity worship training was that ISKCON is growing, and the standard shouldn't be lost, because it happens over time. Something is in place, and then some time passes, and it starts to move. So similarly, the Hare Krishna movement is growing and growing and growing, which means, 2 things. New people come in the door, and they look at, and what do they see, and depends on what they see is whether they come back again or not. And they could see, dysfunctionality in relationships with one another, and that's not inviting. Of course, that's not to say that's all of what happens, but it certainly can happen, because here's part 2. The part 2 is we're not there yet, meaning in the process of bhakti, those of you that are familiar with the stages of bhakti, right up to the topmost stage before bhava and prema, there's still unwanted things within the heart, anarthas that are within the heart. So you get a bunch of, a congregation members together that have anarthas in the heart, and there's going to be some mishap. Something. I mean, not necessarily the explosion, but how to help not just the anartha nivritti process, but how to help devotees behave in a way that's better than yesterday. It's an essential part of this sadhana itself, because sadhana cleanses. But then what direction do you move in as to help, to assist sadhana cleansing? Here's a little teaching from Madhurya Kandambini that just says the same thing that I just said. There's a stage of bhakti called nishtha. You familiar with that stage? The first is preliminary faith, sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya, anartha nivritti, nishtha. Nishtha means steady. And before steady is unsteady. And in between steady, unsteady, and steady, here's anartha nivritti. So in the stage of anartha nivritti, the statement that's in the Bhagavatam, Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shlokir bhaktir bhavati naistaki. So, Nashta means destroyed. Prayeshu means almost to nil. Abhadra is abhadra, inauspicious. Auspicious, abhadra. Inauspicious, abhadra. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. Regularly engaged in service to the book Bhagavad and the person Bhagavad brings the eradication of anarthas or abhadras almost to nil. It's just a stage. Don't sit right there in the doorway, please. Thank you. There's next people that come up won't be able to find a way to come in. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So back to the stage of nishtha, which means steadiness and bhakti. Not squeaky clean yet, but clean enough that the obstacles don't prevail, because bhakti is strong enough that it overcomes the obstacles, but they're still there. Got it? Nishtha, nishtha, nishtha. So the statement in Madhurya Kandambini, the statement, there's steadiness, listen carefully, there's steadiness in the qualities that are favorable to bhakti, and bhakti is not yet consistent, that is to say, one may be steady so that other people that come in, they have a place they can sit. Thank you. Steadiness in bhakti itself, sakshad bhakti, sakshad nishtha bhakti, and sakshad, or not bhakti itself, but steadiness in the characteristics that are favorable to bhakti. The idea is the characteristics favorable to bhakti don't create bhakti, they just assist it. And they're helpful. They don't create bhakti, they're helpful for bhakti. And then there's things that are detrimental for bhakti, and those make steadiness in bhakti a little difficult. So the overall point is, we're Hare Krishna. We're trying to become devotees, all of us, and we're more or less there. And when we're less there, then new people come in the door. We're not setting a good example. Not because we're like bad people, we mean to hurt people, but sometimes we step on people's toes or say things or do things that are not, it's better to not do those things that are not so nice. So therefore, is it important? It was felt, yes, it's very important that we have training and education, how the behavior of a Vaishnava should be, at least directionally, and hear it. This is the third time, and there's going to be three more times I'm going to be speaking on this topic. So for me, it's going in. And two of you at least, you heard it at least once already. So if they hear it again and again, it's no problem. It's part of training and education. How to conduct ourselves in a way that's Krishna will smile. It's pleasing to Krishna. Not the other person smiles, but Krishna will smile because we're striving to please Krishna. That's bhakti. And it's refined, at least to some extent. We're trying and we're trying. We sometimes don't do it perfectly well, but we're trying and trying for that main objective. Krishna should be pleased. So that's Vaishnava etiquette. And I chose to speak on the topic, Vaishnava etiquette, specifically in terms of respect, because Vaishnava etiquette begins with or starts with respect. So this first class is just a series of references from Scripture that set the standard, and then we're going to, at least my intention, is to go through where in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela it shows each of these, where in Ramayana it shows many of these, in Mahabharata it shows many of these, in Srimad Bhagavatam it shows, so because that's our highest authority is Shastra, Guru Sadhu Shastra. There's the deciding factors for what we should do and what we should avoid doing. And this Shastra is what sadhus and gurus refer to. That's it. So that's what we're going to be doing. That's my plan. And I think it'll be helpful. Well, we experienced it twice so far. It's very helpful. At least we can know. And then after, and in addition to hearing from Shastra and these principles, it's not just knowing, but you're doing something else. It's purification just by hearing. So it helps us do in addition to knowing. Because, look around the room. How many persons in this room are from Indian origin? Either you're born in India or your children are from your families. It's everybody in the room. And that means there's a tendency already. You have a head start compared to persons that are born in different place or from a different cultural background. You have some advantage. However, the many people that have advantage that still have anarthas within. And some persons know that they do and they're wanting to eradicate, and some persons know that they do, but they don't try to eradicate them, and some persons don't care. So there's different, and that's what we're drawing from. So fundamental to Vaishnava etiquette is respect. There are other items one can identify, but we're going forward with this one. Here's the starting point, is some statement by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote many books, and in one of those many books Chaitanya Shikshamrita, he describes his position of etiquette. He uses the term, that we'll see it a few times, Maryada. Maryada. Proper respect should be given, considering the person's status. This is called Maryada. Negative. Not giving proper respect is considered a great fault. One should give respect to all human beings, but one should give more respect to a man with position. Most respect should be given to the devotee. The following is the order given in the order of respect due. Now, there's a list of 8. And it starts, there's respect goes to those that aren't human also, we'll hear about that shortly. But just for the humans, then comes the first. Nara ma trena maryada. And amongst all humans, some are civilized. And civilized means follow varnashram. Some are uncivilized. They have 2 legs and 2 arms, but they don't follow. But they're still to be respected. And then those that follow, and they're civilized. And then within the varnashram system, there are those that have some position, like a leader or Raja Maryada, Pada Maryada. And then some amongst those that have position, some are well educated, like the Brahmanas. Vidya Maryada. And then some amongst those educated may be particularly gifted with good qualities. Some learned persons aren't. Some are proud. Some are angered. Some are this and some are that. So that those that have good qualities, especially the Brahmanas, sannyasis, and Vaishnavas, sadguna Maryada, then going up according to Varna, then ashram, then the devotee. So that's where it ends. The devotee is the one amongst the humans to be most respected. So we respect the soul. That's every human has a soul. All forms of life, but amongst the forms of life, human is at the top of the spectrum. Anyway, then up and up and up and up and up and up and up. Gradations of respect. Appropriate for the position. And most is those souls that have bhakti are to be most respected. And the failure to offer that respect, is mentioned here, not giving proper respect, is considered a great fault. That's Maryada Vyatikrama. This is mentioned in the Bhagavatam, where Uddhava is meeting with Maitreya. It's a long story. We'll tell that story when we get to the Bhagavatam section, third class. So there was a circumstance. Maitreya, Vidura met Uddhava. No, Uddhava met Vidura in Vrindavan. It's nice how he got there. It's just a long story. But they're in Vrindavan. They're by the bank of by Govardhan Hill, by the side of Govardhan Hill. So where they met. And not far away was the river Jamuna. So this is the beginning of Canto 3. Maitreya was the person who Vidura was directed to by Uddhava, because when the two met, Uddhava and Vidura met, Vidura is a Krishna Bhakta, a very dear devotee of Krishna. And when he saw Uddhava, "Oh, Uddhava, you even look like Krishna. And you're a lover of Krishna, and you know all about Krishna. Tell me about Krishna. How is Krishna? How is Balaram? How is Ugrasena? How is Vasudeva? How is this one? How is that one? How is everybody? Tell me." I mean, it's a nice detail. A nice detail is Vidura already knew that Krishna departed. Before he got to where Uddhava was, he had been in Prabhas. And already the fratricidal war in Prabhas had happened. So, and he knew, and Krishna had gone. He knew. But he didn't want to give the bad news. So he didn't say, bad news, Krishna's gone. He didn't say it. How's Krishna? How is Balaram? How is everybody? And Uddhava was such a devotee that he went into a trance. He couldn't speak. He was absorbed. He pushed his Krishna button and he just went into trance and meditation upon Krishna. And he struggled because he wanted to serve. And his senior, in many ways, is Vidura. So he struggled, and then there's 2 chapters, just beautiful chapters. He's summarizing, in the mood of separation from Krishna, Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, Krishna's pastimes out of Vrindavan. It's really nice. It's a really nice section, filled with devotion and emotion. And then after he speaks about Krishna in that way, then Vidura understands that Uddhava is also, as he is, very elevated Vaishnava. He asks many questions of Uddhava. And Uddhava says it would be inappropriate, it would be maryada, vyatikrama, the transgression of Vaishnava etiquette, if not far from where we are here in Vrindavan is Maitreya. And you should take these questions to Maitreya. And Prabhupada's comment in the purport for that particular section, he says, to be well versed in the transcendental science of necessities, awareness of the transcendental etiquettes of spiritual science necessitates. So that's what we're doing right now. I mean, this time spent together is what are the techniques of spiritual science, of how to have proper conduct. I mean, he knew, Vidura knew, Uddhava knew, but he's deferring to Maitreya. That's a principle of Vaishnava etiquette. There's a nice statement, 4 categories from Manu Samhita, of how respect should be given. Among Brahmanas, seniority is by knowledge. That makes sense. Vipranam jnanato. Among Kshatriyas, by valor. Kshatriyanam tu viryataha. Among Vaishyas, grains and riches. And among Shudras alone, it is by age. It doesn't mean elderly are to be respected, but not only among Shudras, but it's by age alone. The elders are to be respected, even for Shudras. What to speak of everybody else? This is Manu. And here's a nice statement that we've heard. Those that hear Prabhupada's recorded lectures know this one. Matravat paradareshu loshravat atmavat sarvabhuteshu yak pashyati sa pandita. The pandita, a learned person, is one who considers matravat paradareshu, another's wife as his mother, another's possessions as a lump of dirt, and treats all other living beings as he would himself, is considered to be learned. No, that this third one, it's Chanakya Pandit saying, but it's culture. Do unto others, the biblical saying. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. The golden rule. It's called the golden rule. You know, and there's go on the internet. I've done it, and I could send you some documents of this internet search that it's in all cultures. It's like it's not just Chanakya Pandit. He's got a nice idea. It's universal. Treat others as you would have others treat you. Do unto others as you have had others do unto you. The golden rule. And that's a learned person. And we'll come across these going forward in time. This is just laying the ground. And in Vedic culture, in addition to the ones just mentioned, those three, that's, these 8 from Krishna Samhita, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's teaching. These principles from Manu, these principles from Chanakya Pandit. Cows are certainly to be respected. We'll hear more about how Krishna respects cows. And all forms of life, even an ant that comes in Gora Lila. Material nature, without respect, it becomes exploitation, and that's the program. Materialistic society is not respectful of Mother Nature. They exploit material nature. And there's consequences for failure to respect anyone or anything. And there's a way of life that goes with disrespect, and it's very problematic. And the problems are, how to deal with the problems when the problems come, because the root of the problem is disrespect. And so how do you get people that are accustomed to disrespect? And one of the things that I travel a lot, maybe too much. And one of the things I notice is there are certain categories of eating establishments, and what is burgers, and the other is chicken. And in driving, because I was just in the Midwest, there's so much land, agricultural land. And what do they grow on that agricultural land? Corn and soy. Why corn and soy? Cows. Why cows? Burgers. It's just cash cow. That's the phrase. The cash cow. The cows represent cash. And so the land, the material nature, is to supply that which makes me rich at the expense of the life of the chicken. And so anyway, I find it very disturbing. In one sense, it's good to recognize the place where we are, and it's charged with opposition. It's a very unfavorable place. Devotees coming from whatever their background is, many devotees, before they become devotees, become vegetarian. And some have a little struggle becoming vegetarian because of the habits of the place in which we live. But cultured people, there's not a problem. But uncultured people, it's a problem because it's grounded in disrespect. All forms of dharma and paradharma. Dharma is just, proper conduct. You don't steal. You don't lie. You don't cheat. You don't this. You don't that. Just morality. Standard forms of do's and don'ts. And then there's the transcendental do's and don'ts. And respect for all of them. And respect means you guide your life. The intelligence guides the choices that you make according to respect. And where does respect go? If you don't have intelligence, you don't have training and education, you're not going to know what's what. You're going to make some wrong choices. And it becomes animal, two-legged animal life. And the age, according to the Bhagavatam, it goes down and down, closer and closer and closer to respect is gone. Here's a nice little section. There's 5 points. This is the beginning of Kunti's prayers. Those of you familiar with the Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, Kunti's prayers. But in the beginning of the chapter, that's Kunti's prayers, is the scene that the curtain opens at the beginning of Chapter 8 of Canto 1, where the Kurukshetra battle is now finished. And when the battle is now finished, there's some people remaining, and they have the ordeal of dealing with all the bodies, and the funerals, and the rituals, and the people feeling grief and mourning for the deceased. And it's a very sad time, very sad place, very sad circumstance. And that's when the curtain opens. And Krishna comes, Krishna and Balaram, and they, Krishna and Balaram, want to relieve people from that suffering of the loss of so many relatives and cousins and teachers and everybody. So there's not a whole long pacifying of those grieving, but there's this little section where Prabhupada in his purport describes in Vedic culture there are 5 classifications of persons who are protected. The basis is that which we protect, that which we respect, or that which we respect, we protect. So here are the 5. Before the advent of the age of Kali, the Brahmanas, cows, women, children, and old men were properly given protection. And there's reasons why each one, and he goes through one by one. The protection of the Brahmanas maintains the institution of Varna and Ashram, the most scientific culture for attainment of spiritual life. So back to those, those who are amongst humans, there's some that are civilized. They follow Varnashram. And how does one know what Varnashram looks like and how to do it? The Brahmanas are supposed to know. That's the head. If the head doesn't know, how's the body going to act properly? So that social structure is to make the purpose of creation effective. We'll go back. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, in the beginning of creation, I sent forth generations of men and demigods, and with them this process of sacrifice. Because why? Because by the process of sacrifice, men and demigods can revive their relationship with the source. So the source provides the means for enjoyment, and the source provides the means for regaining the position where it isn't enjoyment, it's about sacrifice to the Supreme. And that's the social structure. And the social structure is to be given direction by the head. And therefore, the Brahmanas are to be protected because they establish this culture for regaining spiritual life. And that's what those who are would-be Brahmanas are supposed to do, not by birth, but by quality and by conduct, by knowledge and by proper application of that knowledge for society. That's what that's what we're supposed to be trained to do. And respect goes to those who are performing that function. They have the proper knowledge, and they're living accordingly, and they're giving direction to others how to. Therefore, protected. Brahmanas are to be protected. Then, protection of cows maintains the most miraculous form of food, namely milk, for maintaining the finer tissues of the brain for understanding higher aims of life. Now, those of you that are accustomed a little bit to hear Prabhupada speaking about milk, he always used that phrase, finer tissues of the brain. And I was wondering, does modern science hold that same view? Or is there data in modern research to verify that statement that Prabhupada made again and again and again and again and again and again? This as a standard refrain about not the only reason, but one of the reasons for maintaining and protecting cows. So there's a devotee in Chicago named Namarushi. He's a PhD, and his field is food research. Illinois Institute of Technology, the same acronym, IIT, right? Illinois Institute of Technology. And his field is food research. And so I asked him, and this is what he sent back to me. Numerous scientific studies show that consumption of milk aids the development of brain, increases neurocognitive development, influences exploratory behavior in those who are consuming milk, provides protection to the brain from certain types of oxidative brain injury, and provides protection against some damages caused by aging and age-related diseases. So drink milk. But drink protected milk, because cows are to be protected. Ahimsa milk. And fortunately, Gita Nagari provides us with ahimsa milk. And others provide ahimsa milk, and others provide non-ahimsa milk. Now, there was a time in the Hare Krishna movement when we didn't know about ahimsa milk, and there wasn't too much option. So then farms were created to create ahimsa milk. But Prabhupada he didn't become a vegan because the cows weren't protected. Then he, gradually introduced us to we should protect cows and take ahimsa milk. So there's 2 of the 5, brahmanas and cows. Next comes women, children. The protection of women maintains the chastity of society. So it's not just the woman needs protection because she's weak or doesn't have the same strength as those aggressive men that would abuse her, but it's a principle. It's a principle of society, organization of society, where the women maintain chastity of society, in which we can get good generation for peace, tranquility, and progress of life. Now, the flip side is modern society that doesn't have that sense of respect. There's exploitation of, and not protection. And the whole society becomes degenerated. And that's Kali Yuga. So to reverse that tendency is the respect. As his Prabhupada opened the purport saying, before the age of Kali, these 5 were always protected. So the point is, we protect that which we respect. We respect that which we protect. The protection of children gives the human form of life its best chance to prepare the way of liberty from material bondage. Such protection of children begins from the very day of begetting a child by the purificatory process of Garbhadang Sanskar, the beginning of pure life. Now, when I read this about this topic, I'm many times reminded of a discussion I had in a university in India. And it was after a class, and there were a group of young men that we had just sat around. We had some discussion, and they had a tiff. They had like some tension amongst themselves towards Hare Krishna, because they said they're all brahmanas by birth, and they said we're all brahmanas, but you say, ISKCON says, the Hare Krishna people say, everyone is born lower than Sudra. So could you explain why you say that? It was the tone, a little confrontational, but it wasn't harsh. And I just had one statement, and they looked at each other and said, yeah, you're right. I said, in this age, two things. In this age, how can one be a Brahmana without performing sanskaras? Brahmanas perform sanskaras, but the very first one is omitted. Where's the Garbhadan sanskara? Prevalently today. They looked at each other and said, yeah, you're right. And it's a principle. In one sense, it's a ritual. What is ritual? Rituals don't create something, but it's not just a ritual. It's a principle to live by. Without belaboring. And then, and I added, Krishna doesn't say that one is Brahmana or anything by birth. It's by guna and karma. And so by guna and karma, starting with this first one, without the sanskaras, then what's the guna and karma? It may give it a label of Brahmana, but it's not Brahmana, because a Brahmana is one who lives by those qualities and work. That's how the definition from Krishna goes, is qualities and work. So children are to be protected because it prepares the way for liberty from material bondage for them, and speaking more broadly, for society. Finally, in this list of 5, the protection of old men gives them a chance to prepare themselves for better life after death. Well, protection and also respect, because, somebody that becomes old isn't necessarily wise. They're just old, aged. But men are to be protected at least because it gives a chance, and where there's Vedic culture prevalent or spiritual culture prevalent, then the final stages of their life can be preparation for whatever happens after this life. Better life after life, or after death. Protection, so they can peacefully and effectively and successfully carry out their duties of life. Here's an image that's just cut and paste from something that we've been doing in Gitanagari. Some of you, all of you know where Gitanagari is. And there was a few devotees that got this bright idea that there's a lot of people out there, particularly Western people, that are not yet introduced to Krishna Bhakti. So what's a very gentle way to introduce them to Krishna Bhakti? Invite them to Gitanagari, see the cows, and have an event that's not like Ra Ra Krishna Krishna, but it's just gentle. So it was given a nice name, the Body, Mind, Spirit Retreat, which could mean anything. Body, Mind, Spirit Retreat. And the way it was developed was through social media. I don't know a thing about social media, but some people do. And those people that do, through social media, they came up with inviting people that knew nothing about nothing, but body, mind, spirit, and here's the theme, and here's, the activities, and 100 people showed up, registered and showed up. And so this was one of the themes for the weekend, Iranagari Body, Mind, Spirit Retreat. Because young people, particularly young people, but all people, relationships are really important. I mean, it's really important. It's important anyways, but it's important to young people. And then how to have meaningful, fruitful relationships, there must be respect. So that was the fabric of relationships. That was the theme. And it's a nice topic. And there's simple things that can be said about it. At this point, I've just been giving scriptural things. Here's something from Srila Prabhupada about conventional respect. This comes right from the internet. When people think of respect, communicate, unite, cooperate, serve, collaborate, assist, all those, handshake, come together, etc., cliches about the conventional sense of respect. Here's Srila Prabhupada in a room conversation in Rome. Even if an enemy comes to your home, he should be offered respect. Now, and it doesn't mean like someone holding a weapon, but someone that's inimical and says and does things that are inimical to you or to others, and therefore in the category of enemy. That the idea is, that the culture is, their inimicalness, their enemy characteristic, can be inflamed if you treat them as if they're an enemy, or it can be put away, subside, and just completely gone if you treat them with respect. And it's human nature. And here's an example, one scriptural example of Yudhisthira, who is the emblem of virtue. And in the emblem of virtue, Yudhisthira, this is a painting of here he's coming before Dhritarashtra, the blind king. The one who's introducing him because he's blind is Domya, the priest, and he's indicating to the blind king, Yudhisthira has come to pay his respects to you. Now he's blind, so Yudhisthira could put his hands in any position, but it's the classic folded palms position. And he's offering him all respect and honor, knowing full well that Dhritarashtra was in full knowledge of all the dirty, bad, horrible, diabolical things that Duryodhana, his eldest son, was up to. He knew about it before it happened, the murder plots and the this and the that and the other thing. And he didn't stop him. Knowing that he knew, Yudhisthira is still showing respect. Because Yudhisthira is one who abides by Dharma, and a Dharma principle is to offer respect. Here, in the case of an elder person, the case of a leader person, a would-be king, is the elder to his father, elder brother of his father. So he's triple. He's to be respected. Even his behavior is bad, the principle of respect is not left behind. There's another nice example, similar example, when there was a circumstance where the Pandavas were cheated in a dice game, and they were sent in exile for 14 years. And during that period of time, Duryodhana knew where they were. During some part, they were off in the forest, and he knew where they were. So he went to nearby where they were and had a noisy party. And with his noisy party, he was with a whole bunch of ladies in a lake or river and splashing around and making a big bunch of noise. And there was a Gandharva that heard all the noise and he didn't like it. So he came and defeated Duryodhana. So the Pandavas were within earshot of this battle between Duryodhana and the Gandharva. And Yudhishthira called Arjun and said, we know very well behind our exile and all of this business and the murder attempts and so forth, it's Duryodhana. But you're a Kshatriya, Arjun. You have the power to protect Duryodhana from this Gandharva's attack. So stop the Gandharva. Because he's to be respected. Not the behaviors, but in principle, the person, Duryodhana was acting as a king who would usurp the property of the Pandavas in Hastinapur. And they were given this other place to go, Indraprastha. Anyway, it's a principle of respect, because respect is from a virtuous person, they give respect. Now, how that respect is shown depends on the circumstance. It may be this way, that way, but it is respect. Two other examples, and we're done for this evening. In the painting, it shows Ramchandra Puri. Now, many of you know already. Some of you may not know. Lord Chaitanya accepted a spiritual master whose name was Ishwara Puri. Ishwara Puri had a spiritual master whose name was Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri was in the line of disciplic succession from Madhvacharya. So in the line of Madhvacharya, many, many generations later, Madhavendra Puri, Ishwara Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's the line of disciplic succession. And in addition to Ishwara Puri, Madhavendra Puri was a very elevated, super elevated Vaishnava. Little bit of a background. In this Madhvacharya line, in the line of Madhvacharya, the principal preceptor in our disciplic line, he gave very strong teachings about worship of Krishna, Udupi Krishna, Krishna Bhakta. And his teachings were the straight and narrow, and the proper teachings, and commentators and acharyas following him in line of disciplic succession. Then many generations later, several hundred years later, came Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri had the same Krishna-centered bhakti, yet he introduced a type of Krishna bhakti that was love of Krishna in separation. Love of Krishna in separation means there's some relationship, and when you're feeling separation from that one, the object of love, there's a feeling, an intense feeling of separation. So Madhavendra Puri, introduced that in his own life and practice. And one of the things that he did towards the concluding years of his life is he would repeat over and over again a message, a refrain that was the mood of love and separation. And as he was doing like this, one of his disciples, who's pictured in this painting, his name was Ramchandra Puri. And Ramchandra Puri came and heard and saw Madhavendra Puri in this dire mood of love for Krishna and separation from Krishna. And he criticized him. What are you doing? You're supposed to be reading Vedanta Sutra. You're just reciting this silly separation from Krishna message. He was chastising his guru. And Madhavendra Puri said, "Get out of here. I don't want to see you ever again. If I die seeing you, my destination will be some dark place. So I don't even want to see you. Please go away." So he went away. But his tendency for fault finding didn't stop. It became his thing. wherever he went here, he went there, some other place. His business was, where's their fault, and criticize. That was his program. Not a nice man. But a sannyasi with that spirit and a powerful personality. So one time he came to visit Puri because he heard his godbrother Ishwar Puri had this celebrated disciple, learned Vaishnava named Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he went to Puri to meet him, and his first business was to find fault. But he couldn't find any fault. He tried. That was his program, and he couldn't find any fault. But then the painting shows, once he was visiting in his room, he saw some ants on the floor. Now, in America, you don't have that problem, but in India, it's like everywhere, ants everywhere. He saw ants on the floor, so he's pointing to the ants on the floor, saying, "Aha! What kind of sannyasi are you? You're eating too many sweets, that's why all the ants are on the floor." And when he came to town, and thereafter, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew he was a fault finder of his Parama Guru, his guru's guru. He knew his behavior, offensive, personified, but he continued to offer him respect with great attention. And then that fault finding was directed towards him, and he didn't say, "Wait a minute, there's ants everywhere." It's character of a Vaishnava. Now, it's not always that's the best response. You just put your hand on your chin and shrug your shoulders. The person is just like that. That's an option. It's not like that's the proper behavior. Here's a last example. This is a painting of Haridas Thakur. He's the one holding the beads. And sitting at the feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was under a tree, and some Vaishnavas gathered around, and Lord Chaitanya liked glorifying Haridas. As if he had 10 mouths, he would glorify Haridas. And Haridas was not saying, no, 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 but he said, you're living in a society of great, great brahmanas and aristocrats, but without fear of shame, you adore or adara a lower class man like me. This word adara is a standard term that means respect. A nice place that you'll find this word adara is in the writings of Rupa Goswami. Some of you like the writings of Rupa Goswami. And in Upadesh Amrita, or nectar of instruction, this word adara is used to describe how one should chant the holy name with adara, with great respect or great attention. Prabhupada translates it there, with great attention and reverence. So Mahaprabhu, was respecting Haridas with great adara. Even he's low-born and fearless of how he might be criticized, and he was criticized for giving respect to someone who's born not in a Brahmana family, not in an aristocratic family, but a low-born family. But though Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was respecting him, not by his birth, but by his character. He was a Krishna Bhakta. And he constantly chanted the holy name. He was given the title, Namacharya. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. So the position of respect in Vaishnava etiquette. That's our topic. And let's see if there's some discussion. Mahamantra, you're raising your hand? You can't see the screen.
Yeah.
What's the picture? Is someone paying their obeisances? Someone with bowing down, folding their hands, offering prayers of respect. That's the picture. That's the image. Yes.
Thank you for the wonderful class, Maharaj. So I would like to know how to understand the difference between the first slide that you showed, where you showed about how we should pay respect in gradations, but Uttamadhikari should see Krishna and everyone and should treat everyone as equal. So I'm a little confused between those two concepts, Maharaj.
Okay, two things. Not a good idea. Not a good idea at all. Something about babies and crying, they seem to go together. It's not a good idea to bring a baby to an assembly like this, because when the crying starts, it disrupts everything. It's not a good idea. So it can stay, but future, please, those that have little ones, be considerate. This little one is pretty amazing. She's just like zonked out and everything's okay. Okay. Here's the slide. Here's the 8. This is speaking of sadhakas. And sadhakas are to respect in these gradations. It's not the uttama, it's the sadhaka. That's one. Second is, even the uttama, while they see all living entities, pandita samadarshana, they see differences. And according to the differences of respect are offered. Vidya vinaya sampane, brahmani gavihastani. So, pandita samadarshana, it doesn't go and embrace the tiger. And he doesn't make his best friend the dog eater. He recognizes the equality of the soul within. The behavior is something other than the soul within. So I see that distinction. That's the Pandit does that. The Uttama doesn't treat everyone equally. They see everyone equally, but they don't. Their social and cultural interactions are not necessarily uniform. Now there is a type or category or of avaduta that makes no such distinctions. And it's amongst the uttamas it's a particular slice of the pie, and they don't pay attention to anything. But not paying attention to anything is not the criterion or the mark of an uttama. Uttama is one who sees Krishna, and they're completely fixed in their devotion to Krishna. They still make, just like our great Acharya, like Srila Prabhupada, he made distinctions. Unquestionably Uttama, or Rupa Goswami, or others that are unquestionably Uttama, but they make distinctions. But they see with equal vision. Those are two answers.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Sometimes Maharaj, some of the people we don't like, means their behavior or their thinking, and we want to avoid them.
Yes.
So is it a kind of disrespect?
No. It depends on the attitude within.
But
Supposing there's a toxic place, you stay away from toxicity. Then there's, that you snub or have an attitude towards a person or a place that's toxic.
But they are also human beings, correct?
Yeah, so the respect to the soul, but not respect to behavior. Necessarily. Some behavior is not respectable. And you can discriminate. The intelligence is two things. Intelligence is discerning one thing from another thing. Yes? That's an IQ test. You've ever looked at IQ tests to see what's going on? they have groups of 4, and what's the one that doesn't fit in the other group of 3? And they're purposeful because they kind of look, anyway. IQ tests, intelligence is to discern one thing from another thing. So intelligence is to be able to discern, this is good, this is proper conduct, this is improper conduct. This is to be done, this is not to be done. An intelligent person has that capacity. Now, while making the discernment from the coverings, that has nothing to do with the soul itself. Because the soul itself is not the covering of the soul. So a spiritually intelligent person can not only discern between good, proper conduct and improper conduct, they can discern on the spiritual platform. Buddhi, spiritual intelligence. And buddhi is given to one who is a bhakta. Doesn't Krishna say that in Bhagavad Gita? Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayanti te. Dadami buddhi. Krishna gives buddhi. Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamup. So people can come to him. And who does he give that buddhi to? Tesham satata yukta nam. Spiritual intelligence is given to one who wants to be in Krishna's service, so that person who wants to be in Krishna's service and strives to be in Krishna's service, Krishna gives intelligence. So you can discern distinctions between behaviors, and you associate, you select wisely good association. And it's right in Krishna's teachings to Uddhava in 11th Canto Bhagavatam. Keep away from unwholesome association. Respect. But the wholesome behavior, don't get too close to it, because it's toxic. Unless you're a preacher, then you can go deliberately in the midst of drunkards or people that behave badly, as Prabhupada did. The hippie community, they behave badly from Vedic culture, badly, and they transform them. Then in that case, he's giving association, not taking association. So the short answer I gave, this is a long elaboration, is depends on the consciousness behind. You're keeping yourself a little aloof. It can be snobbery, or elitism, or it can be, something else. And different instructions may apply in different cases in the layers of spiritual hierarchy. Like Nityananda and Jagai and Madhai. Does that help?
Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for this nice presentation. In Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings, where he says, Samanena Manadena, give all respect to others, but don't expect any respect for oneself.
Yes.
So if someone is in that mode that I don't want any respect, so respecting that person is to respect his mode. Is that a proper thing?
Are you asking, when Shankadari sitting over there on the stairs, he is trying to become a follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And as trying to become a follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wants to be respectful, but he doesn't want respect. So I am going to honor and respect the fact that Shankadari doesn't want respect, so I won't respect him. Is that what you're saying? Interesting. Then we have a culture of disrespect, because the lack of respect is disrespect. I may not go to great lengths, but let's refer back to Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur cringed because he was Amanina Amanadena. And Lord Chaitanya is respecting him publicly again and again and again and again and again and again and again, knowing what at this parallel, knowing that Haridas doesn't like respect, but he didn't stop respecting him publicly. No. There are circumstances where one doesn't publicly display respect. And honoring the fact this person just likes to be, in a quiet back room situation kind of thing. Yeah. But then that person may also be respect. Just see how humble. See this purple back there, sitting alone, and honoring them for their humility, knowing they don't like respect, but respecting them. So it depends. But it's not a principle. The principle is to offer respect without expectation for oneself. Okay?
Thank you, Maharaj. Just one follow-up, Maharaj. When two persons are there and one person is very highly positioned and to be respected and the other person is not so much, so when we respect the situation, the person who is not so much needed respect will get offended if we respect this person or not this person.
Again, it depends, because there are circumstances where respect is appropriate to all, while deferring to greater respect to, this list here. Let's just take the assembly. Let's just number 8. There's an assembly of Vaishnavas. Are leaders or brahmanas or sannyasis to be demonstrated equal respect to everyone's in the room? That's not how we conduct ourselves. Honor goes especially to, these orders, even amongst the Vaishnavas. But respect, not disrespect, commensurate with their position. Does that answer your question? Oh, right here. We didn't miss you. You look alarmed.
I need some help, like understanding Vidura respecting Dhritarashtra, in spite of that Dhritarashtra is a character of not like listening to Vidura. So in real life, I too see that like I have to report to people like Dhritarashtra where so like indirectly comes out like the hatred or like whatever the mischief is they did. How to overcome that and then still respect them?
How to? This is a how-to question. You know my answer to how-to questions, right?
Chanting.
Well, sadhu sangha. That is so. And sadhu sangha means, in the association of sadhus, we engage in Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. And by engaging in chanting or Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, there's the opportunity for two things: purification. Those negative emotions, where are they rooted? They're rooted in the material conceptions of life. And the root of material conceptions of life can be uprooted by Shravanam Kirtanam and the bhakti that follows, the devotional activity. So the how to overcome those emotions is by sadhu sangha and bhajana kriya, in the association of sadhus. And your expression can apply to any one of us in the room, because we all meet people that are of not the best character, and we have to sometimes look up to them and report to, as you're saying it, report to them. I mean, it goes on.
Thank you, Maharaj.
It doesn't mean you just roll over and play dead. You know, you have choices to make after, while respecting, you have choices to make about how you're going to speak and not speak, how you're going to behave and not behave. But the respect doesn't change. That's unwavering. And how is respect? And we're going to hear as we go forward. Sometimes something needs to be said. Sometimes there's something there isn't something that needs to be said, or it's going to have zero effect. But it doesn't mean because it's going to have zero effect because the person is just grumpy. I don't depart from respect. And then, you know, again, there are multiple factors to consider, so that the banner is, it depends. And you have to do with again, this intelligence, discernment. You have to discern what is the person and what's the behavior that's not the person, and respect the person, and you know, let's say in the association of devotees. I mean, I'm as you're asking your question, I'm thinking of one very elder, senior Vaishnava who is grumpy. And this grumpy senior elder Vaishnava sometimes goes on rants. It's like, oh, come on. But this particular elder senior Vaishnava, they're there for years and years and years and years. They're dedicated, very loyal, very faithful, very careful in all that they do, and they're responsive, but they're grumpy. And how do you respect Mr. Grumpy? You see, the years, the dedication, the loyalty, the fidelity, and that there's a personality quirk. So it's not like that's ideal, but we don't get all bent over, out of shape over that and point fingers at the person or something like that. Others have tried to help this person, and it just ends up getting into another rant. So you just step back, because it's not going to change. But all respect. Years and years and volumes and tons of service. And that's in the Vaishnava circle, and then you're speaking outside the Vaishnava circle. But the principle, so it depends how the principle gets applied, but the principle is the principle. And sometimes, people in the leading position need to be changed. But I'm not the one to change the person in leading position. That's up to Krishna. Okay. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Nice class, Maharaj. Thank you. I have two questions, Maharaj. One question is, I think when we go in ISKCON temples, when we see a senior Vaishnava, as you were mentioning, we want to respect them. I think it is the senior Vaishnavas, in turn, they respect, pay obeisances.
Yes.
It feels uncomfortable for me to see such a Vaishnava bending down and paying obeisances on that. So, I think because of their age, the way they are bending, it feels very uncomfortable. So, is it okay if I pay obeisances without seeing them? That way, they don't pay obeisances in return. Is that a...
It's done. It's not like the standard, that's the answer for discomfort. but that's done. It's not offensive on your part to do like that. You should consider what's pleasing to Krishna. That's what's important, not what's pleasing to you. That's the bhakti principle.
Thank you, Maharaj. Second,
Yeah.
my second question is, Maharaj, about I think when someone comes and says, like, you were supposed to do this, I think someone says that you should have done like this, but there was something was missing there and which I did not do it. That means as a Vaishnava respect, you should accept the fact that you did not do. The explanation for not doing it, I think you should not, that's what we're explaining.
It depends. Sometimes you just smile, and sometimes you offer an explanation, and sometimes, it depends on the variables. The person, time, place, circumstance, depends. To get defensive immediately, that's not wholesome. It's not like that, it's like this. Come on. Where it's about it, then I'm still at the center. Not the principle is the center and Krishna's at the center. It's about, I don't want to hear some unkind words spoken to me because it's not true. It's not fair. It's not honest. So avoid that knee jerk of defense and go to another place. What's appropriate? This. Okay. Interesting. We're good?
Thank you.
Anything else? Yes, up front, right in front of you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I really like this topic, and overall purpose of this topic, I really like it because I've been seeing situation of these problematic areas in the community.
Yes.
So, and I also like the categorization you made in terms of those who don't know, those who don't have awareness of they're doing some mistake, those who know but they're not ready to fix anything.
Yeah.
Those who know and ready to fix. I like that also. Yeah. Now, to help that community of devotees like that, in terms of education,
Training and education.
it sounds like one aspect is to understand the importance of making a change.
Yeah, that's the why.
Why? Yeah. And then second aspect is training the consciousness. What should be the internal consciousness towards dealings with others?
Yeah, that's the what and the how.
Yeah. And then third aspect is some people need to know what is the moral behaviors. They may not know this is not okay, this is okay also. Is that three elements or anything else you also see?
As long as the third one is driven by 1 and 2, then yes. But some persons go to number 3 and they don't really have 1 and 2. And then they get upset or they something.
Yeah.
It's very dysfunctional to have a relationship, communicate, to share, to be in the presence of persons that don't get 1 and 2. And you go to number 3.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
Makes sense.
We had this discussion in Naperville. There's morality or ethics and morality, and there's Bhagavad Dharma, and how do the two fit? Proper Dharma and Paradharma, how do the two fit? So if you don't have the Paradharma, the why, that is Krishna's to be pleased, the bhakti principle, then you can get people in odds with each other over, no, it should be like this, no, it should be like that. And then there's groupism over this and that, or dispute or of one kind or another. So the answer, there's the answer to your question.
One more.
Yes.
So also another aspect maybe important is how to deal with these three categories of people.
Which three?
The ones that who don't understand that they're doing wrong, the ones who understand they're doing wrong but they're not ready to fix anything.
Okay.
Like that.
Okay.
Also, that is also important element.
Also what?
Is that also an important element for training?
Well, I'm not sure what you're asking. Persons that don't want to hear can't be trained. All of us in the room have probably had experience of interacting with somebody that has beans in their ears. They don't want to hear. And you say something, and they say the same something. And that you say a different way, the same something. You know, some people that have, like demigod worship, or, you know, some ism, you know, impersonalism, or voidism, or something. Some people are stuck. There's not training and education, so that's just kirtan, or, you know, very broad general hearing and chanting, because they're stuck on a particular point and that's it, and they don't want to become unstuck. They're not inquisitive to know; they think they know, and it's, you know, that's it's people that are stuck. It's hard to get them unstuck. So then you give them prasadam, and you give them the holy name, you give them something that's just, in general, purificatory, and be happy that they've got some purificatory contact without being able to move because they're stuck. Does that answer? And just accept it. That's just the way things are. I think we're done. Oh, there's something towards the back.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I was thinking of the example of Duryodhan and Arjuna with the Gandharva.
Yes.
And it seems that Arjuna was advised to intervene in the situation by Maharaji
And he
Yudhishthir.
protected him. He saved his life.
Yeah. I was kind of trying to extrapolate that situation into our own lives. Sometimes we find ourselves in situations where, there are two people that we should respect. They have some kind of an argument or fallout or something like that.
Two people we know, they're arguing with each other.
Two people we know and respect. They're in a respectable position,
And they're disagreeing with each
they're
other.
disagreeing, and we're tangentially involved. So the question is when to know that we should intervene. And second question related to that is, once we intervene, sometimes, inadvertently or advertently, because we also have opinions about that, even though we may not express things outwardly. So it may appear that we are not respecting one, and we're kind of,
You're party spirited.
Yes. So
towards
how
one
to,
and against the other.
Yeah.
Well, how to is the discerning factor once again. If you have intelligence, you can discern when are the circumstances I should step in and when shouldn't I step in. And then what to say and how to say it. Those are all intelligence and refinement of character. So the answer to that is the how to, this the sadhu sangha answer. Your first business is not to resolve differences between two respectable and senior persons. That's not your business. Your business is to make your heart pure. And when your heart is pure, then Super Soul can give you intelligence. Here's what to say and how to say it. And here's when to keep your mouth closed.
So in the meantime, Guru Maharaj, when we're not there yet,
then you just be patient.
we just don't
Don't go there. Here's a lesson. It's not the same, but it's similar. It's similar, quite similar, actually. I've told the story many times. Here we go, one more time. In Vrindavan, I learned a lesson from Burijan Prabhu. You've heard this story? So those of now, because I started it, the story goes, I was teaching in the Vrindavan Institute for Higher Education for 1 month. And Burijan had organized it. It was in the early days of the VIAG. In Vrindavan Institute for Higher Education. I took a course and taught a course for a whole month. And somebody else another course, and somebody else another course. So we would because we knew each other in college. We had lunch together and we were friends. And so one time I brought to his attention something like this. And without a blink, he said. He didn't necessarily say, in this case, this is the rule that should be followed, but he said, in some cases, step back, don't play Krishna. There's a relationship between these devotees and Krishna, and sometimes it's just a matter of them working out their relationship with Krishna. Don't intervene. Don't fix the problem. Don't intervene. Just allow it to be an interplay between Krishna and this devotee and that devotee. No, that's not always the case, but that's an option. So, and I'm suggesting, if you don't have the discerning capacity of how to not appear to be taking sides, because it may very well appear, because you have opinions, okay, have opinions, but these are respectable persons, and it's not your position to advise them, because they're the senior persons. Unless there's a kind of unless there's a kind of relationship where you can say something, either to both of them or to one of them, and it won't be taken as you're shaking your finger at them or instructing them, but you're just sharing, this is how I see this situation. It depends on the relationship. If you're at liberty to express yourself like that. So there are options in the menu of possibilities, and if you're not sure, then just hold your tongue. And if you do, then let it be guided by intelligence, super soul given intelligence, with respect, without trying to fix this dispute. You have a relationship with both of these persons. You look up to both of these persons, so let that not change. And then within that framework, then you can say something or not say something. And ultimately, everything is in Krishna's hands anyways. So it's okay if you don't say something.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. There was a statement, I don't know whether I'm going wrong, please kindly correct me. There was a statement that it is said, those who we respect, we protect. Was there anything, something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So I was just wondering that, not having that pure bhakti in my heart, that maybe according to my own conceptions, I may respect some people and not respect some people for now. Then how to understand that statement, like to give protection to that everyone?
Well, the premise or preamble of your question has embedded in it, there may be some persons who you have respect for and some persons who you don't have respect for. And I'd like to add it. even those persons who you don't have respect for, see a distinction between the person and the behavior or speech that you don't respect, or you think this is inappropriate speech and behavior. So that goes into that category, into matter, and then respect goes to the spirit. So you can have some understanding and awareness and behavior towards inappropriate speech or inappropriate conduct, but it's not lacking of respect. It's a discernment factor, because respect is at the heart level and the intelligence is not the heart level. This is this and that's that. That's the intelligence. But respect is respect on the spiritual platform, on the soul, one soul to another soul, both of whom are Krishna's parts and parcels. Due to some reason, I don't know necessarily what the reason is, but this speech or behavior that's not becoming probably has some background to it. Modes of nature at least, and probably some association, and who knows what else. Maybe this person was hurt or damaged, and now because they've been hurt or damaged, they're behaving or speaking in a way that's not becoming. We don't know that history. We could feel compassion instead of, disrespect towards the behavior. But, that takes maturity in bhakti to be able to function like that. So I'm recommending to you, reorient your contemplation of those persons who you said you respect some and don't respect others. Differentiate between the behavior and speech. Hate the sin, not the sinner. You know that saying. So that's a spiritual position. It's standard. Now turn the table around the other way. Supposing, is it possible? The answer is yes. Is it possible that you may do something, say something that irritates somebody? You're a good person, but you may do something, say something that irritates somebody. Now, what would you like them to do in relation to you? You do like that in relation to those persons. The table is turned the other way. Do unto others. It doesn't just like some others, okay. Some others, no. Because their behavior and speech is reprehensible. You can keep a distance from them. That's okay. But if you have interactions with them, it's not from disrespect that you keep a distance. It's just, I don't have the strength and purity and power to lift the situation up. That's my shortcoming, not theirs. And a person that does have that power, they can go mix and lift. It's a very, very basic spiritual principle, the soul and the spirit and matter. And we don't belong to that matter category. So these feeling not so good about someone's speech or behavior, that's on the material platform. It's okay. But then go to the spiritual platform. Now, how on the spiritual platform, what's the best way so that Krishna will smile, that I can interact with this person in a way that Krishna will smile? Then we need to know what Scripture says, so we know what makes Krishna smile. Okay? Easier said than done, but that's spiritual progress. And that's how communities, go back to this term community, or the Sangha of Vaishnavas, can become elevated instead of stagnant. And then, get into spats and dissension. little ones and medium ones and then big ones. How to enter Vaikuntha consciousness in our relationships with one another. And that's each of us has that assignment. That somebody else has got to do it. I've got to do it. And whatever else one is doing, that's their relationship with Krishna. Each one of us has that assignment. Okay. Be Krishna's little agent in the community of devotees and act that way that Krishna will smile. And then as much as that center is there for any one of us or each of us, that's a Krishna conscious Sangha. That's where we're headed. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.